Hello, this is John, Vintage Fisherman. Today, I'm going to take apart, clean, and lube a Bantam. This is a Crestfire 101. This is a left-handed. This video will also work for pretty much all the Bantams. This one here is a little bit more complicated because it has a flipping switch, I'm sorry, back here, and anti-backlash, so it's a lot more complicated than this reel, but it will work with this style reel. They're pretty much the same. Even going back to the original, this is one of the original Bantam left-handers, 1001, from way back in the day. I know I bought this one in the 90s. It's one of my personal reels right there. Well, all these are. So let's take it apart, see what it's made of. We'll start out taking the handle off. Now some of these reels are quick spool change reels and some aren't. This one is not. It's a basic model, okay? Remember, on your left-hand reels, your nut's reversed on the handle. It's reverse thread. Now you got the handle. You got this little wavy spring washer goes on there, and your drag knob. Go ahead and take this full tension knob off. There was a spring underneath that. Okay, there's a little bitty shim down in there. Let's see if I can find a decent screwdriver here. Yeah, that shim, there's two of them actually. There's a black plastic. You don't want to lose these parts here. I don't normally put those in the parts washer because they will disappear. The black plastic went down with the copper shim on top. There's also, I can't get to it, I don't have a pair of tweezers, but there's a bushing right there. So let's take this side off. I'm going to loosen these up with a straight blade. And then I'm going to take a small Phillips head, a 0 Phillips head in there, and get those screws out. This reel's fairly smooth. I'm just taking it apart to service the drags, service the bearings, freshen up the lube. It functions perfectly. Should slide right off there. One of them's holding it up. That one right there. Okay. Before I do anything else, okay, sit there. All right. Get all your screws out before you lose them. And they're all the same length, same size. You've got a spacer with the bevel side goes towards the bearing. You got the bearing, which push out. There's the bearing. Let's see. I mean, it feels good. Handle bearings don't have to be, they don't have to be ABEC 7s, guys, gals. It could be ABEC 5 and be just fine. I'll service the bearings as I go. It's probably an ABEC 3, more than likely. There is a bushing that the spool shaft rides on in there. And then that cover is done. Over here, you've got a spacer that went down against the drag plate. And then a bevel washer went up against that spacer. So it goes like this. And this thing needed lubing pretty bad. Yeah. So I'm gonna lay this all out. Best way to do it. I think this is only a 2-washer system. Okay, that was underneath there. Now, dang it. Let's see here. Okay. We're at the top, so it goes like this. Oof. It's gonna be tough to get out of there without marring it up. There we go. There's your top washer. We go down here to the bottom. I'm imagining it's gonna look the same. Wow. Okay, no, it's different. So the black washer goes to the bottom, and the clear or tan washer goes to the top. So there's the whole drag stack. I'm doing that so if I can go back and look at the film and say, okay, that's how it went. You got 2 springs on the yoke. Yoke comes off. Things are falling apart on me here, so I'm going to try to slow it down just a little bit. There's the yoke, pinion, and then you had a spring for your jack plate. We're pretty much done here on this end. Then your anti-reverse dog comes off. My fingers is just too big sometimes. There's a post, then your dog, and I'll clean that up in just a minute. Like that. And then you don't need to take this off because you can clean that pretty good and you can lubricate it. But I do take the handle post off. There's a bushing in there, and that's why I take that out so I can get to that bushing. I don't normally take that off. I just clean it really good. You can take it off. It's not that hard. All right, let's move over to this side. Your spool's going to come out over here. And on these Bantams, that's how it is. The spool comes off on the palm side of the reel. If you do have a quick release. Like this. For instance, this reel here, I don't know why that came loose, but you take these 3 thumb screws loose, and this end plate comes off, and your spool comes off over here. It would be the same on this reel if it were a quick release or quick change spool. Those things is in there tight. They've never been out, that's for sure. That's good. If I'll get in here, nothing's been jacked with. Now, when you take this palm plate off, all your mag control for your cast control is going to be over here. I'll show you how that works. I think it'll come off now. Yeah, there's always one still hanging on. Alright, we're going to leave that sitting right there for a minute. There is really nothing in this cover to be aware of except for You notice those two little shims there. Don't lose them. And remember where they went. And take them out now, because if you don't, when you get over to the washer and go to clean this cover up, you're going to wish you had. Because they will fall out, and you really need those shims, and I'll explain to you why. Those will not go in the parts washer. They will stay right here on this pad. So that cover's done. There's 3 of those actually, I'm sorry. They're on all the way around this. Okay, so you got a wavy washer that comes off. Then your mag control comes off, and you don't have to take this apart. Just lubricate it good and clean it. You know, take a Q-tip and clean it up. But as you can see, when you turn that mag, it moves that plate. See? And what it does, it moves that plate closer to your spool on this plate here, and that's what slows it down. It creates a magnetic force that slows the spool down. And that's pretty much that part of the reel. Let's take this worm drive off. Also, you can take this little cover plate. Don't need to leave it on there. Good to take it off, clean the gunk out from under it. There's 2 screws, 1 on each side. And it just lifts off. Not real dirty. This reel's in really good shape. You've got a C-clip right here. Oh boy, going up stabbing myself on Saturday morning. Ooh, I see it. There is. You see what I mean? You gotta be ready. And here's the part about Shimano's I don't like. This cap on Shimano's is plastic, and if you're not careful, if it was ever over tightened anywhere in the past, it will be broke, split, and you're done. You can't get them. You pretty much got to find another reel. Hopefully it's not cracked when you get it. All right, this one has, you got the cap, and it has a shim under it, or may have several shims under it. It's got a shim under it. Okay, see that little round shim? Yeah. Then your pawl comes out of there. Now you can take your worm drive out. The tube goes out the other side. It's a plastic tube, and it does have a bushing on it. We're not going to mess with that. Now you can do this too, that will fall out, but you can also take these 2 little small screws. Well, actually it's just one. Because the other one's with the cover. And that pulls it out, and there is the complete reel. There is a bushing right here that you could actually, I think you can put a bearing in place of that. But that's the reel. So I'm going to clean this stuff up, and I'll be right back. All right, let's put this Shimano back together. Got it all cleaned up now. All right, where do you start with it? I think we should start out with the last thing I took out was this bushing here. It's got, now this may be able to be replaced by a ball bearing, but I don't have any this size. But anyway, it's got 2 tabs that go in it that go, and I guess they've got that so it will not turn. If it was a ball bearing, it wouldn't be a concern. But there's 2 tabs on that thing. I need to be able to rotate it to lock those tabs into place. Just putting light pressure on it and turn it till the tabs lock. That's not working. I'm way off. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so it should go flush into the housing. The spool rides in that, so we're going to give it just a little bit of oil. Don't like grease on anything on the spool because it turns at such a high speed. Wait a minute, before I put the spool in there, let's back up a minute. I need to put the level line together. Going to start out with the level line guide and the tube. It goes in like that. Locks in. The opening would go to the bottom, okay? This part here just thinking while I'm looking at it here, make sure I get it in the right orientation. Go in like this. Yep. There was a single screw over here. Put that one in. So that goes in there like that. The pawl will drop down in there. May have to use the pliers because my fingers will not reach down into that. I need a small pair of tweezers actually. Here we go. No, those tweezers don't fit my big fingers either. This might be a mistake. I have not had my coffee yet. It's brewing. Okay, so well, back up, John. Before I can put that in there, I've got to get the worm in it. Goodness gracious. All right. Let's get the worm in. Put a little bit of lubricant on here. This reel is really gummed up from sitting for a long time. I don't even remember where I got this reel from. Oh, I think I did some, no, I won it at auction. That's where I got it from. So that goes in and we have a snap ring E-clip that goes on that to hold it all together. And I'm going to try to do this without losing my E-clip because I have none this size in stock. This video would have to just be reshot if I lose that some other date. Alright, now we can put, this in there. I need to get me a pair of forceps and put down here like I use when I'm trout fishing and stuff. Be perfect for this. Goes in. Okay, so I got it locked into the gear just like I do on any other level line type reel. Just give it a spin, it usually pops in place. There is a small shim that goes in there like that. Just put a little oil or grease on it to hold it in place. Now these little plastic caps will snap on you if you over tighten them, so I do not recommend over tightening. Let's put it down, snug it, but don't over tighten it. That's the whole level line assembly. right along here. I'll go ahead and oil it while I got it on my mind. Okay. Next up is this plate goes on the top. And it had two of these silver screws in it. On each side. You have to put that in first because you can't put the covers on and then still get this on there, so you have to go ahead and do that. This one also had the last two silver screws. This has got a bushing, so it's going to get oil. That sits in here like this, and then two screws. Going into plastic on this stuff, don't over tighten anything. Just take it down until it feels snug. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and build this side of the reel. So I've already put oil on there. Just look at it, make sure I don't have anything missing on it. Going to get some oil on this end. It's a bushing. All right, with the mag set to 0, you got this little wavy washer. I'll set this in there and set the drag over towards 0. That's not right. Is that on 0? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Still playing with it here, hang on. Pretty sure it's set on 0 or 10, actually what it is on the dial here. It's got to go right there. Yeah. Okay. Something doesn't want it to set in there for some reason. Okay. All right, I see how it goes. This will go on here, set just like that. That's your mag adjustment. And so if you're looking at the cover, if you go like this, that'd be your max drag. I need to lubricate that also. And back this way would be minimum. I'm going to pop this cover off and give this some grease. And remember, the dial is set back here too. minimum. And I've got it on there wrong already. Oh, goodness. No, that's wrong. It's a process, people. I should have paid more attention to where I had it when I took it off. Now it's been greased, it doesn't want to, it's got suction on it, it won't come apart. And see, that doesn't want to work right. And it's got to go. Jesus. There it is. Goodness. Alright. Hopefully it'll stay together for a minute while I got to place these little bitty shims down in each one of these 3 holes. These kind of keep everything with this proper spacing, so this piece here will turn. If it gets too tight, you know, it's not going to turn correctly. I see something here. There's one screw I got to take back out. That one right there. That screw. There it is. That screw doesn't go in yet. Okay, so we're going to attempt to hold all this together and put this cover on. Alright. 4 screws. One's like a wood screw or a coarse screw. It goes in the very front up here. Give it a couple of turns. The other 3 are machine screws. Okay. Tighten it all down. Just you know, 2 fingers tight. It's there it goes. All popped in place there. All right. Make sure that will work. Make sure the spool spins free. And see, when you got it on 100, that's all it turns. And when you go over here to 10, which is minimal magnetic drag, turns for a long time. So that's correct. All right. Moving right along. That other screw that I had on the wrong side goes over here. You gotta make sure you put that in because it will not go in there once you put the reel together. Need to lubricate the jack plate. Just gonna kind of smear some lubricant down underneath it. Kind of want to do a better job of that, but I don't want to take it apart either, so. I'm just going to smear it up under there. got some grease on the shaft of the spool. I don't want grease there, I want oil there, so we'll take that off. Now, you got the yoke. I had some old grease on it that somehow or another did not get off of it, so we'll take care of that right now. Pretty nasty old grease too. We'll grease that up good. Put the pinion in the yoke. The yoke goes in like this, so you want the gear side of the pinion up. It doesn't snap in like it does on the Garcias. Give it a good coating of grease. On the shaft of the spool and go down like that. And a little grease on the jack plate on top. I forgot to grease that. Just stick a little grease in there. Okay. All right. 2 springs that go on that. We're gonna wait on those just for a second. Got to build some other stuff first before I get that far into it. This post goes right here. And this spring goes from this tab on the spool release, the thumb release, to that. So when you go in, it snaps. When it comes back out, it snaps. Okay? See that right there as we go. Next up is the anti-reverse pawl. It's been cleaned. This goes on like this. And there's a post that goes in there. And you can check this by I got it backwards. How do I have it? Oh, I got it upside down. That's what it is. Okay, we'll flip it right side up. So it goes in like this. Thought it looked funny on there. That way, you know, you can turn your left-hand crank, so you turn like this, and it locks down against it, like that. That's how your anti-reverse pawl works. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. It had a spacer. And that's to keep the bottom of the gear from touching that anti-reverse pawl. Then it had your bottom washer. Get some cowls on these things. They were greased when I took it apart. It goes up into your gear. You got the one on top. The one on top is a tan washer. It would go up. The dark washer went down. That's how they came out. Okay. We're going to grease the gear. It had hardly no grease on it when I took this reel apart. You know, you can grease choke a reel. You know, you don't want to overdo it, but you got to have some lubrication in them. anything relating to the cranking of the reel, you can go a little bit heavier on grease, but when it's relating to the spool turning, you got to go light. Light oil is better because you want to be able to cast the reel and get some distance on that cast. I mean, I guess if you had a reel that's casting too good, you could choke it down with some grease, but that wouldn't make much sense to me. Drop the gear in and mesh it with the pinion teeth. Then it got your top drag washer. Black spacer. Your convex washer, concave, convex, depends on which way you turn it, right? Yep, that goes in there. Then it had a spacer. Okay. And your bearing, which has been oiled or lubricated. Don't forget your 2 springs on each side of the yoke. And everything else can go on from the outside. So we're about ready to finish this reel up. A little bit of grease on each one of these brass nut certs. So when you put the screws on there, down further. There we go. I did not have the main gear pushed in far enough. It wasn't meshing with the level line gear. Give it some more grease. Makes sense. Okay, I think we're ready for the cover. Line it up with the bearing. Maybe. Yeah, the bearing's gonna stick us. Okay. There we go. The old bearing wants to play with me. Okay. Alright, we'll play the game. You can always push the bearing on out to the outer edges because it's not going to matter. You're going to tighten the drag down against it here in just a second. Alright, take 2. Line that up. It's going to spring tension back on you just a little bit. Not the end of the world. All of these screws are the same size. Put one in, give it a twist. Make sure it's catching thread so you're not chasing it all over the workbench. Move on to the next one. I wish these reels had a few more bearings in them. I'm sure the modern versions do. Back then, we didn't get bearings, reels with a lot of bearings in them unless you spent mega amounts of money. Now you can buy a $100 reel with 10 bearings in it. It's crazy. All right, a little bit of oil on that shaft and that pocket and in this bushing. That's on there wrong. Yeah, it goes, actually the step goes up. There we go, like that. That way it's got a place for the spring to set in it, okay? All right, now this, if you remember, this cap had this black spacer and then this copper washer in it. We'll put a little bit of oil in there. Put the first spacer in. Finagle it into place. Okay. Then your little copper washer goes in there. Kind of work it into place. It goes in the center. There's a little pocket for them to sit in. Like that. Okay. A little bit of oil. Little bit of grease on those threads. A little bit, not a lot. I had too much on there. Just something to give it a little lubrication to go together with. You can adjust that as you go when you go to cast. That's your spool tension knob. Now your drag is ready to go on. A little bit of lubricant on your stem, I guess you call it, sleeve. Penn would call it a sleeve. Gonna have to hold the shaft a little bit until you get the drag down on there. There we go. Not crazy about the factors, not anything that really shields that bearing, but I'm not the engineer of this thing. And you'll get handle washer there, handle nut. Remember, it's left-hand thread, so turn it backwards till it catches. It's not wanting to catch. Nope. Let's try flipping it over and see if it will catch. There it goes. And tighten it down. Remember, it's reverse thread, folks. So. That should do it right there. Your cap screw. About got it here. We'll lubricate the handle knobs. All right, let's seat the drag in. And there it is, folks. It goes from 10 on your mag control to 100. It's sitting right on the, it's lining up perfectly with the where it should be. That's a nice little reel. You know, they weren't expensive when they were new. It was probably a, I don't know, $40, $50 reel at the most. But they fish fine, and I fish with them. And it'll make me a good little reel to fish with. That's it. Shimano Crestfire will work with the Bantams. I had a couple of them on the earlier part of the video. Always check, make sure your anti-reverse works properly. These don't have instant anti-reverse. So, something to think about there. There, I had the spool tension way too tight on it. It's, whoa, it's not gonna spin a whole lot. It's really hard to overrun these reels. I don't know, I found it just, you have to really have it. You have to really do something stupid with them. They cast pretty good. Anything with mag control casts pretty good. But anyway, there it is. Works with most of the Bantams that are low profile size. These are like some of the earliest really cool looking low profile reels. That's why I like them. Anyway, if you liked the video, please like it. If you want to see more content like this, because I've got plenty coming, then subscribe, and I will be back with more content. Thank you all. This is John, Vintage Fisherman. Y'all take care.